welcome to Impact TV. My name is Jack Crawford. I'm one of the founding general partners at Impact Venture Capital. We've put together this video series to give viewers a vision into how corporates are innovating with investments and other internal and external R&D efforts. We've historically interviewed corporates like Samsung, Dell, Yamaha, Salesforce, and others. Today, I'm thrilled to have the CEO of SMUD here, Arlen Orchard. SMUD is an advanced technology and utility company. Arlen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jack. It's good to be here.
Hey, just to kind of kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about how you made your way sort of through your professional endeavors all the way to the top of SMUD?
So serendipity, I don't know. I have to admit, I never planned to work for a utility, and I certainly never saw that I would be the CEO of a utility at one point. But I came to SMUD many years ago when I was about 30 with a plan to stay about 3 years. I'm a lawyer by training. And what I discovered was a company whose personal values around the environment and commitment to community and being very forward thinking mirrored my own passion. So I ended up staying and ended up being the chief legal officer for about 13 years. And then I've been the CEO for the last 6 years at SMUD. And it's been an honor and a privilege to serve in this role. It's really an exciting time in our industry.
How many employees at SMUD now?
Between 2,400 and 2,500 employees.
Okay.
And our revenues are about $1.7 billion a year.
And there's a rumor going around California that your next 2,400 employees are all going to be required to have a tattoo. Is that just a rumor, or is that something about how you're embracing innovation in sort of the next generation?
Yeah, absolutely. My highest priority when we're hiring employees is that they have tattoos. But in all seriousness, the tattoo around the company, I have a couple, so I'll admit it, have become kind of a symbol for the culture we're trying to build at SMUD, which is one about innovation, one about diversity, one about that it's a cool place to work. And when I look at, as we're trying to hire talent, we're competing with Silicon Valley. So I have to have an atmosphere that is welcoming and invites all kinds of people in. And so the tattoos kind of become a symbol of what we're trying to do culturally here.
And as you get the word out about to not only sort of potential hires and sort of the workforce, but also to the entrepreneurial community, and the investment community about the priorities at SMUD over the next sort of 12 or 24 months. What are the types of things that you're speaking on, and how are you articulating sort of the priorities of the company in the coming months?
So we just went through a pretty extensive exercise looking at what is our decarbonization path going forward. And so we laid out a pretty ambitious $7 billion investment strategy over the next 20 years. And a big focus of that is ensuring that a lot of these benefits of decarbonization and air quality occur locally. And so a big chunk of what we're looking at is electrifying our building stock, and also electrifying transportation. So that's one of our high priorities, is really positioning SMUD and the Sacramento region as leaders and forward thinkers in this area. And both of those require a lot of new technology solutions and new innovative thinking around whether it's building technology and electrification or transportation technology. And so we're spending a lot of time working on those. And then as we think about the future of the industry, it really is, there'll be more and more players, more and more third parties. Customers will be much more involved. So part of what I envision the role of the utility of the future is to really be creating the platform that allows all of the participation by third parties and our customers in this new energy industry.
You know, it's interesting. You and I have had conversations, and I think the world looks at SMUD, for the most part, oh, that's my, residential utility. SMUD's doing some interesting things with regard to solar farms and with regard to wind farms. But your comments to me historically about electricity being the new fuel highlighted and sort of cemented in my mind sort of SMUD's interest in transportation. Can you talk a little bit about sort of your comment there and sort of how you're thinking about engaging, whether it's power generation or distributed power availability in the transportation sector?
Sure. So I think when you think about, I'm a firm believer that climate change is the biggest existential threat we face right now, and we all have an obligation to do something about it. And when you think about really doing it in a meaningful way, it means we damn near have to electrify everything in the future. And I think it becomes clear that as a utility, I'm the fuel provider for that. So I'm the new gas station. I'm the new power provider for your dryer or your cooking appliances at home. So as we think about that, if we're going to succeed, then we're very, very focused on how do we green our own portfolio so that as customers transition to make decisions around electrification, we're assuring that there's a net carbon reduction in every choice they make. And so that's really informing and redefining our relationship with our customer, because we need to be able to provide many more tools and products and services to help them make that transition, while, quite frankly, at the same time ensuring that we continue to remain their supplier of choice and we continue to be financially viable in the long run. Obviously, a huge part of that is transportation electrification. And so we're looking at it in a number of ways. One, just flat out getting our customers to make more investments in electric cars, working with RT to transition to electric buses. But there's another side of that, which is you've got this whole paradigm around charging infrastructure. And we know when you're looking at fleets and workplace charging, one of the barriers to companies adopting more of that is the issue of installing charging infrastructure. So we're looking at how do we take what we do and help facilitate that and make the transition more rapidly. So we're looking at, and we'll be rolling it out early next year, is charging as a service for fleet and workplace charging as a way to kind of help bend the curve a little bit. And then the other side of this is really important, is that electric vehicles have an impact on our grid because we're obviously supplying more energy. And so what we want to avoid is everybody plugging in their electric vehicle at the same time and charging it at the same time, 4 or 5 Teslas in a neighborhood, or I have an e-tron now, an Audi e-tron, so, and blowing our transformers and increasing our costs of our infrastructure. So the other big side of this is really the technology that needs to be in place to better manage charging and other distributed energy resources on our system. So we're also spending a lot of time and effort working with third-party partners in developing these new platforms that are going to facilitate and optimize distributed energy resources and electric vehicles into our system.
So these entrepreneurs are out there, they're trying to get visibility into the areas of innovation that corporates are most interested in, right? And most of the Fortune 500 now have launched corporate venture arms to actually invest in entrepreneurs that are creating and inventing technologies that are relevant to their industry sector. You're certainly playing a leadership role in your industry sector with regard to accessing innovation as well. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about corporate venture and how you think about sort of accessing innovation in not only the areas like transportation and power generation and storage and some of the other areas that are particularly of interest to you, but how are you going to engage with the entrepreneurial community and with the investment community to make sure that you're getting visibility to the innovations that are out there that are most relevant to your industry sector?
We've taken some initial steps over the last 4 or 5 years around a program we call the Innovation Generator Program, which is where we spend a lot of time going to conferences and meeting with entrepreneurs to figure out if what they're thinking is something that solves a problem for SMUD, the industry, or our customers, and then engaging them on at an early stage to talk about, can we help you refine your product? Can you test your product in our service territory? And and how would this integrate with other products we're thinking about and looking at. In the past, we've done it through either just flat out working with them and not really seeing a financial reward on us, or we did a strategy where we entered into agreements with them for future revenue sharing, a future revenue sharing model. What we discovered is that's challenging for brand new entrepreneurs because they really need to pour all of their sales dollars back into the company and growing the company. Sure. So that revenue sharing model works well when we're doing a joint development project with somebody like Open Systems International, which we are on the development of a large technology platform. But for entrepreneurs, we're having to completely rethink that. We've been hamstrung, quite frankly, by the fact that we're not allowed to take, we haven't been allowed to take an equity interest in small companies. I'm happy to say within the last 10 days, the governor signed a bill that we ran that will give us limited ability to take non-stock equity in small companies that are providing solutions that meet the needs of our customers. So I'm hoping that that will give us an opportunity to more fully engage with small entrepreneurs with great ideas to be able to meet their needs as well as our needs. And so part of what we do is we engage with folks like you, Jack, or folks like Steve Wesley down in the Bay Area and ask, what are the companies you're looking at and investing in that might have applicability to our industry? And then reaching out or having you all create that connection, that introduction, so we can figure out, is there a match here? And I think that's been pretty effective also. Actually, for us being much more proactive with the venture capital community, we're actually seeing kind of benefits from that.
Well, I've absolutely appreciated the collaboration with you. You were a tremendous supporter of our Impact Global Venture Summit last year. That rallied 1,100 entrepreneurs and investors, and you were a significant part of kind of mobilizing that entrepreneurial group. So we certainly appreciate SMUD as a partner there. I've also seen you, in addition to collaborating with investors and investing in entrepreneurs, I've also seen SMUD's recent unveiling of their California Mobility Center and some of the efforts there, sort of building sort of infrastructure and creating centers of excellence. Can you, for the viewers that maybe haven't seen a lot on that, can you just provide an overview in your words on what you're trying to accomplish with that significant investment?
Sure. As you mentioned earlier, transportation is becoming a key part of our business going forward. So this is a natural extension of that. Also, as a community-owned business, we want to make sure that the benefits from innovation are really staying local to the extent we can. We want to attract entrepreneurs to Sacramento, and we want them to grow their businesses here, quite frankly. So the CMC is part of all of that, and it really is focused on the future of transportation, kind of end to end, from near-term things around electric vehicles, battery storage, to longer-term views around new shared mobility models and autonomous vehicles, testing of policies and regulations, because none of this is going to work unless we know what the rules of the road are, and regulators are often very well intentioned when they develop regulations, but they don't always end up supporting what they thought they were going to support and create barriers. So part of what we want the CMC to be able to do is actually provide a testing ground for new regulations so we can say what's wrong, what works, what doesn't, and iterate quickly with the regulators on that. So the CMC is a nonprofit which is envisioned to be a public-private consortium. SMUD, UC Davis, Sac State, Los Rios Community Colleges are, and a private company called Terzo, which is a local company working in the mobility space, have come together as the initial group forming this, and we've had huge support from the city of Sacramento, Greater Sacramento Economic Council, Valley Vision, and others, SACOG and others, on pulling this together. It's intended to be financially self-sustaining. It's intended to be a place where you bring entrepreneurs and larger investors and corporate venture together to look at what are these new solutions around mobility and to connect people. The other side of that is, as part of this, we're planning on standing up a venture capital fund that will be specifically targeted at supporting the things that come through the California Mobility Center and provide opportunities for both those participating in the fund, but also those members of the California Mobility Center who might not be participating in the fund to engage with these new, interesting, innovative ideas and entrepreneurs.
Great.
That's kind of where we are. We've just stood up the Mobility Center within the last month. We're now working on finalizing the term sheets, et cetera, for the venture capital fund that'll accompany it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we look forward to co-investing alongside of that new corporate venture arm, just as we've done with a number of other corporate venture groups. One thing with regard to the sort of the regional innovation economy that would be interesting to get your perspective on. Of course, our headquarters is in Silicon Valley, and then we have an investment office here in Sacramento. And so we pay close attention to what's happening inside the technology triangle between San Francisco, San Jose, and Sacramento. And there seem to be investors that really understand the importance of capital formation. Sort of the corporates getting together with the angels and the venture capital firms and everybody working together to syndicate around a financing for an early stage company. You obviously have tremendous strategic value that you can provide as a customer and as a partner for some of these young companies. Now you're looking at actively investing. I was reading something about the Responsible Investments for a Stronger Economy, the RISE initiative. Can you tell us, just as we finish up here, is that separate from your corporate venture arm? Is that sort of how you're branding it, or is that something unique?
You know, it is something separate, but it is part and parcel of what we're trying to do to grow the local economy. So the RISE program is one where folks like SMUD, it's public agencies, can make deposits with local community banks, and we have 3 partners in this. We've chosen to start off with $15 million, $5 million with each bank, and it is, fully protected. We earn the normal rate of return. So for SMUD, it's really no different than what we would do on a day-to-day basis. But what the banks have committed to do is to ensure that at least 50% of our investments, our deposits, are used to support small and mid-sized local businesses through things like real estate loans, letters of credit, other things to help them grow and sustain their business. Right now, the program is really has really been very successful. With the four agencies involved, there's more than $100 million of new deposits to local banks, and more than $50 million of new loans to small and mid-sized local businesses. The other thing the banks do is they actually track the number of new jobs created by these investments. So we have a really good story. It's worked so well that SMUD is in the process of looking at, can we grow that from $15 million to a $30 million program for us. So it's just one other way where we're trying to think very creatively about how do we support the local economy, how do we support small local businesses, how do we really create a different conversation in the Sacramento region around what our new economy looks like.
Well, without a doubt, California entrepreneurs and investors appreciate the leadership role you're not only playing in your sector, but in this geography. So kudos to you for all the credit. Just in respect for your time, I want to make sure and blast through a couple rapid fire questions, if you don't mind, just as we wrap up. And one thing I wanted to mention is that I'm in a room filled with some close colleagues from the entrepreneurial community, CEOs and investors. And as part of the Entrepreneurs Organization, we experience share with each other about sort of how we're elevating our game, how we're sort of bringing our A game to our professional endeavors, and we try and figure out through experience sharing how we can learn from each other. If there were one or two things that you would mention about your own sort of professional development and efforts and how you sort of, keep your game at the highest level. Is there one or two things that you do that on a recurring basis that you feel like contribute to your professional endeavors?
So one of the things I really try to do as the CEO of SMUD is keep my eye on what the trends are outside of my industry. So looking at what are the other technology trends that are out there, whether it's blockchain or something else. Look at what are the changes in consumerism, where are those trends going? Because ultimately, at some point, those types of things will influence or impact SMUD's business and our business model. So really trying to be very future focused and think about what's next, what's on the horizon in the broader economy that's going to come back and impact us, or quite frankly, create a new opportunity for us that we can really get in on the ground floor. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that I really focus in on as a leader is it's very clear to me that a company's success hinges on culture. And for us, that's really ensuring that we have a culture focused on innovation and collaboration. And I'm a firm believer that culture eats strategy every day. So really focused on what does our culture look like, and how, as the CEO, do I model that every single day and don't allow myself ever to fall back into old bad habits. So those are two things that I spend a lot of time.
Oh, it's fantastic. Really appreciate that. I feel like I've gotten to know you well enough. I'm going to ask you two personal questions. One is sort of how you start your day. Is there something in the morning that sort of kickstarts your day? Is there a personal routine that allows you to sort of, get into the optimal mindset to take on the day and achieve the most, or sort of, proceed with a level of energy and enthusiasm? Anything unique in the morning? Any pattern or habit that you take on each day?
Yeah, other than coffee, which I have to have in the morning to get started. But I do a few things religiously every morning. Three basic things I do religiously every morning. The first thing is I want to put myself in a positive mind frame, no matter how bad or how tough things are going to be. I have been or will be in the office today. So I'm a big believer in taking stock and being very grateful for what I have. And I spend a few minutes focusing on something that I'm grateful for, whether it's something related to the job or something in my personal life or whatever. It really puts me in the right frame of mind to go out and do things. And then the other two things I do is I spend a few minutes thinking about, what do I need to accomplish today? What must I actually accomplish today? And then what do I want to accomplish today? And figure out how to marry those two things up so that I'm doing what I absolutely need to, but I'm also accomplishing some of the things that I want to. And so those are two things that I practice every day to put myself in the mind frame to go to the office and really contribute everything I have to contribute for that day.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. Last question. What's your sort of favorite blog? What is there some subscription service? Is there something? Where are you getting your information? What's one of the things that you point to? My wife's got me hooked on this. To your point about trends, I think it might be like majortrends.com or something like that. It's something very, very simple, but it's basically talking about consumer trends, technology trends. Of course, we're looking at how artificial intelligence applies to every single industry sector. And then she's just off the cuff showing me major trends that, have an AI component. Is there anything that you're looking at on a regular basis as it relates to podcasts or publications?
One thing I will say, it's very traditional. But I'll tell you, for me, one of the things that jumpstarts my thinking every month is the Harvard Business Journal, because they have some really good, I don't read everything, but there's always something really interesting that's thought-provoking around. Sometimes it's about something like AI. Sometimes it's around what are you doing from a culture standpoint or a hiring standpoint. Sometimes it's financial issues. And then the other thing that I have to say I'm completely addicted to, and part of it's personal, but part of it is another thing that spurs me to look deeper into areas, is I'm a fanatic about TED Talks. I can't get enough TED Talks.
It's part of my nighttime repertoire as well. I appreciate that. Hey, listen, I know you're busy, you're managing 2,400 employees, you're taking SMUD to new levels of innovation. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to basically enlighten us on what's happening in your industry and share a little bit personally with regard to what's helping to contribute to your success. Thanks a lot for the time today, Arlen. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Jack. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for thinking about me in this context. And I look forward to working with you on other things in the future.
Me as well. Get ready for a phone call from us in 2020 to get an update from you, okay?
Okay, absolutely.
Sounds good. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.